Hi everyone, it's Nurse Netty. Welcome to episode 3. In episode 1 and 2, we covered how you talk to your kids by looking at yourself, the history of yourself, how you handle sensitive topics, maybe what your parents talked to you about, or maybe your own physical relationships and how they impacted you in having the talk. Now we're actually going to get into the meat of it and talk about how to have the talk. Welcome to my channel. This is Nurse Netty. I'm a registered nurse and a health educator. I have been helping kids, parents, and their families for the past decade, and I've been helping them have the talk. So I'm so glad you're here to learn, and maybe you are already a rad parent and just want to learn more. So I'm glad you're here. So I've developed this secure method because having these talks, like going in and starting these talks, is the first hurdle. It's probably the biggest hurdle. So before I go into it, I want to show you this quick video from American Pie. It's my favorite moment, one of my favorite moments in American Pie, where the father is trying to have the talk with his son.
Oh, Jim, you're here. I was just walking by your room, and you know, I was thinking, boy, it's been a long time since we've had a little father-son chat. Oh, I almost forgot. I bought some magazines. Do you want to just flip to the center section? Well, this is the female form, and they have focused on the breasts, which are used primarily to feed young infants. And
Okay, welcome back. I hope you got a kick out of that little snippet. It is so super awkward, and I feel like a lot of parents can maybe relate. Maybe they wouldn't use the same method, but you can relate just to the awkwardness of the conversation. So that's why you're here, so you don't have those awkward, or this isn't an awkward conversation, or at least it's not as awkward as it can be. So using the secure method, let's talk about that. The secure method is an acronym that helps you refer back when you're either gonna have a talk or maybe you get asked a question and you start to panic. It's really just kind of, okay, how am I going to handle this so there's good reception from my children, you know? And I don't say the wrong thing, or I, panic and shut it down. So the secure method is the S is for self-assessment, the E is for ease, the C is for being curious, the U is for understanding, being understanding, the R is relating to your kids, and then the E is providing empathy or emitting love, just really kind of creating a space of safety and security and trust, building trust. So if you follow these steps in the secure method, it's definitely going to make these conversations smoother and easier and more frequent. And that's what we're kind of aiming for. Because again, the research shows that kids want this information from their parents. Believe it or not, they may not seem like it, but they really do. And parents really want to give this information to their kids. So let's bridge that gap and make these conversations happen. Because let's be real, most parents avoid the conversation. Most parents didn't even get the conversation in the first place. And here we are having to have this conversation and we're not prepared. But I'm going to help you. I'm going to make sure that you're prepared, and using the secure method is one step. So let's start with the S and the E. I want to keep this podcast shorter so I can keep your attention and we can really hone in and focus on the S and the E. And then in more episodes down the line, we'll cover the rest. So self-assessment is the S. Now, self-assessment isn't what we were talking about in episode 1 and 2. Self-assessment is checking in with yourself in the moment. Because when we think about having these conversations, it evokes emotion out of us. We start to have a physical response. We start to sweat. Our heart starts to beat really fast. We're breathing. It's just that feeling of like that you're going to talk to 1,000 people. It's almost panic. And I think a big part of it is from our history, but also we're afraid of their response. We're afraid that they're going to shut down. stop talking, Dad, please stop talking, that they're going to just agree with you just so you don't talk anymore. Maybe they tell you not to talk anymore. Just don't talk, Mom. Please just stop talking. I don't want to talk about this. This isn't the right time. Or maybe they just look at you like you're a total weirdo, like you're from a different planet, like no comprende, Mom. This just adds to the fears of their response. So when you think you're going to have this talk or you've been asked a question, you do a self-assessment. You're working for using your parasympathetic system. So let me explain. When you're having all these feelings, the heart racing, the heavy breathing, that's our sympathetic system reaction. It's fight or flight. And nothing good comes out of that if you're trying to have a productive, peaceful conversation. You don't want to be using that sympathetic system. That's good for other things, but not for talking to your kids. So you want to pull yourself out of that sympathetic system and pull yourself into a parasympathetic system, using your parasympathetic system. And that's when we're calm. And great things. Our creativity comes out with our parasympathetic system. We're calm. We create a place of peace, safety, security. And so we want to push our bodies into using this system. So how do you do it? So easy. You've heard it before. You've heard it in yoga and meditation. Before you do a presentation, take those 3 deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth, nice and slow, 4 seconds each side. And that's what stimulates your parasympathetic system, is taking those slow, deep breaths. Sometimes if you just put your hands over your chest and do those breaths, that kind of calms, it centers yourself and it calms your body down. Because basically your nervous system is reacting. And again, we want to pull ourselves out of that. So you want to get into using your parasympathetic system. So slowing down. If you don't want to take the deep breaths, go out for a run, maybe go watch some sports, go watch some football. Always love that. Just maybe something to distract you, just to calm you down. So whatever works for you, you can figure that out. But just don't go in hot. That never works. So doing that self-assessment is the first step before you even start to have the talk. Because again, the number one question is, how do I start it? That is the biggest hurdle for parents, is that they don't know how to start the talk. And so they just don't even start it. So we're going to help you with that, because this is a conversation that definitely needs to be had. So check in. Once you're in that calm space, then you want to start the conversation with ease. And this is the E in secure. So ease. And what that looks like is what we call a gentle startup. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Gottman method. Those of you who are married, you've probably heard about it. They're this famous couple that they had a lab and they were able to predict if a marriage was going to last by the startup of all of their conversations. Well, this is true even when you're talking to your kids. Again, if you come in hot, if you come in with that sympathetic system kind of triggering you, or maybe you're interrogating them. Why did you do this? What was this? How are you doing this? Those kinds of attacking, what that never works. You're not going to get a response from your kids. You're guaranteed they're going to shut down. And we're going to talk in another episode about the shutdown and how you deal with an angsty shutdown kid. But right now, if you come in with these conversations and you come in hot, they're just going to shut down. So start the conversations with ease. And that really means you're going to ask some questions, but they're really going to come from a place of I. And those of you who have done any type of therapy, you always hear this, use your I statements, use your I statements. Well, this works with children too. So what it looks like is this. Like, let's say you have a situation where you think maybe your daughter is dating somebody and you want to have a conversation. You don't really want to have a conversation, but you have to, and you really do want to have that conversation. So you come in with the I statements. You come in soft, your heart's not beating, you come in slow, and you say, hey, I noticed that you've been hanging out with Jimmy a lot lately. I was just curious, like, what's going on? Like, are you guys dating? Or Now here you might still get a little shutdown. You might say, oh, you know, it's nothing, Mom. My daughter always says, it's not that deep, Mom. It's not that deep. So you might get a response, but you can still push a little bit more. But if you come from the place of like, I really care about you, you know, say, hey, I'm fine with you hanging out. I just wanted to get kind of a read on the relationship, because I'm here to help you, you know, help guide you through this relationship. If you are starting to date, or are you interested in dating? Well, because I really would like to help you, you know, navigate this. And maybe they're not ready, so they may shut down and you might have to try again. But the more that you just come in from a place of love and a place of ease, they're going to be more receptive. Eventually they will talk to you. They, you know, just don't give up. That's the other thing, is you can't give up on them. But you have more of a chance of success if you're calm and peaceful and you use a gentle startup. Not like, why are you hanging out with Jimmy so much? That's you're just coming from a place of attacking. It's more of, hey, I noticed, I observed that you've been spending a lot of time with him. Like, let's talk about it. Chances are you're gonna get a more receptive child that's going to open up to you. So that's the S and the E, and hopefully those, just work with those two steps first. Maybe play with them with just some non-threatening things. And then in the next episodes, we'll talk about the rest of the secure method. We'll go through the letters, the acronym. And you can use these tools to help you have the conversation. Because I think when you feel prepared, you have more of a chance of having these conversations. And again, your kids really do want to talk to you. And they will. They will open up if you're available and you're resourceful for them and dependable. So stay tuned for the rest of the secure method. I really appreciate you being here today. I really appreciate you, wanting to be a rad parent if you aren't already, because our kids really need that. We really need to provide a place of safety and security and close connected relationships with our kids. So I'm here to help. Continue to watch my podcast, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notifications. And then also check out my website. It's howtohavethetalk.info. On there, right now I have my AI chatbot that's live. It's NURSENETTYAI. That's a coach that can coach you 24/7. So if you get yourself in a situation where you're having to have a conversation, you can talk to her, and she gives you all kinds of tips, tools, things to say at your fingertips. And it's not just all sexual health. It can be anything. You can ask her anything. And it's really a solid coach, and it's for basically the cost of a cup of coffee. So tap into those resources. I'm creating a library. I'll keep you posted when that's available for you. But in the meantime, just stay tuned to these episodes, and we'll go through this secure method and get you to become that rad parent. I'll see you in the next episode.